Hey guys, and welcome to the relaunch of the Women Entrepreneur Success Show. Technically episode 11, but with an entirely new format. I'm super excited about it. But this is still brought to you by Women Who Wow, the premier coaching and mentoring platform for the seriously driven woman entrepreneur. Today we have Lisa Marie Robinson on the show, and she's going to show us how to make friends with our business money, but also she's going to talk about how she went from making $45,000 a year. That was the top corporate salary she had ever received. How she went from making $45,000 a year to hitting $100,000 in her own business last month in her solo business. And this happened in right around 2 years, and she's extraordinary. You're going to love her. And if you consider yourself to be a seriously driven woman entrepreneur, then I want you to message me, especially if you've got huge goals, but the whole Stepfordpreneur, follow the leader thing has left you uninspired or busy and maybe even broke. I want you to message me about joining Women Who Wow. Before we bring Lisa on, I want to have a little micro moment together. I even have props today, right? And these micro moments are designed to challenge your thinking about being an entrepreneur and challenge your thinking about reality, right? And what we should expect and how much we should tolerate. This is going to be our little micro moment together. And today I want to pause to consider something that we often assume is not a big deal. Now, we don't want to go off on tangents and think that everything's a big deal, but we also, as women, I know I have been guilty of this. We tolerate things that seem little, but seem to always have a much bigger impact than we originally anticipated, okay? So I want to talk with you about being just a little bit off course or doing things that aren't quite in alignment, but like not that bad, right? These things that we tolerate, these things that we think we have to do, even though they're not on purpose for us, or even though they're out of alignment with our goals, like, but we feel like we have to do them at least for a time and all of that. That's what I want to talk with you about in our micro moment. So I brought some props. This one was actually shown to me by my cousin, but about something totally different. But imagine these are a woman and a man on their wedding day, right? And their little long nose, this is their nose, right? And they're looking at each other on their wedding day. And what if only like once a year or over the course of a year, every year they started turning away from each other? Not much. We're not talking having affairs. We're seeing just 1 degree difference every year. 1 degree difference, they're out of step with each other, right? Within 10 years, they're not even looking at each other anymore. Within 20 years, they're looking in opposite directions. Do you see my point, right? These small little things out of alignment start to add up. I brought another prop. Ha ha ha. So imagine your black line right here is total online purpose, total alignment. And you can see that you can start very close, but if you just are slightly 1 degree out of alignment, before you know it, your business is really heading off course. This is not to have you challenging every decision. This is not to have you, being paranoid of taking action. But you do want to look each and every day about what you're doing. What would be in total alignment with your goals, right? What actions would be in total alignment with your goals? So we want to make sure that we are on purpose every single day. It's why we do within the world of Women Who Wow. It's why we start every day with a entrepreneurial espresso served up hot and fresh every single morning, really to get ourselves like going in the right direction, which is always towards our ultimate goals. So I want to bring on our special guest, and I'm seeing if I can, Lisa, it's not letting me bring you on. Oh, here I am. Bring her on camera. As I bring Lisa on, I do want to tell you a little bit about her. I'm excited that she's the first guest that I'm bringing on the Women Entrepreneur Success Show. I think it really is very telling that she's our first guest. She is the founder. Hey there, Lisa.
Hey.
She's the founder of Lisa Marie Accounting, LLC. She's a financial and profitability mentor. You might want to I'm hearing myself. I'm not sure if you have a headset, maybe.
No, hold on. Let me turn you down a little bit. There we go. Maybe that'll help.
Okay, perfect. So she's a financial and profitability mentor who works with women entrepreneurs who are she's helping them form a healthy relationship with their money. And if you have any headset, that I think we're going to have to do that. And I might have to do the same thing because I'm hearing everything that I say. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Alicia. While we get our sound going, I wanted to keep talking about Lisa. So she helps women entrepreneurs get a healthy relationship with their money, but also to help them understand their business numbers so that they can make informed decisions about what they can afford to do or who they can afford to hire. And she helps them not be afraid of a budget and to be empowered by their business money instead of controlled by it. Just a few of the hurdles that this seriously driven woman entrepreneur has had to overcome include going from having no money and credit in bad shape, having to apply and get assistance to keep food on the table, losing her insurance. And I don't know about you guys, but very few of us can imagine building a business against that kind of headwind, right? And yet she was absolutely determined to make her business work so that she could be home with her girls and be there with her girls. Both of her girls, by the way, have been diagnosed as being on the spectrum. So her life has never been like sitting aside waiting for her to build this business on her own time and giving her this luxury of, not needing to make money and this luxury of having all this time at home, right? But not only did her business reach $100,000 for the first time last month of this year, like woot woot, right? Give her a love heart shower for that. That's huge. The most she ever made in corporate America was $45,000, and she is ruthlessly committed to her fitness. If you follow her on Facebook, you see she's posting like her arm workout, her leg workout. She takes girls' weekends. One thing I love about Lisa is she goes on these bowling trips. Like she'll travel and go and do these bowling league things. I just love that kind of stuff. And she is living and loving her savvy, sexy Southern business dream. So welcome, Lisa. I'm so excited to have you. And I'd love to just know how you're doing.
I'm doing good. I think I'm still in a awe moment. Like I pinch myself every now and then that I've actually reached that 100K. My goal was to reach it by like middle of next year, so I reached it early. So yeah, I pinch myself every now and then and go, holy crap, I actually did it.
That's awesome. It's so cool. And I often, regret that I didn't keep better look at my numbers in the early days. Not only would it made, I think, a smoother growth trajectory for me, but also I missed some pretty big milestones when they happened. And I will always treasure the text that I got from you saying, gotta let you know, I hit this month. And so I was so excited about that. But one of the things that you and I have in common is one, I think we became experts at floating checks back in the day, right? Like, some people are watching this and they might be too young to even know what that is. But that is when that was back when checks took a while to get to your bank, right? So like, you could write a check for groceries and then maybe something hadn't cleared your bank yet. And so you could like float checks. And I remember always running those days. So I pay until Tuesday and I think this will come in and hopefully their check will get here and clear before this comes out. And so she and I have had some fun conversations about floating checks, but we also started our business to be available to our kids, right? And so I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. I knew my oldest that something else was going on, but at the time, neither one of them had been diagnosed with the disabilities that they have. Within less than 9 months after me leaving, within first 3-4 months, Kenzie went into a really deep depression, and so I'm really glad I was here for that. And that's when we started realizing something else was going on. And not shortly after that, she got diagnosed on the spectrum. And then Heather got diagnosed on a different spectrum, but it's a nonverbal learning disorder where there's a huge gap. So both of them have different needs. They're similar, The spectrums of both are similar to each other but different, so there's different needs. But I can't imagine working 60 hours a week in a corporate and having to correspond to as many teachers as I correspond with on a daily basis, and go to the meetings and make sure, and be here to help them and take them to their tutoring and their occupational therapies and all of that. I mean, they both have a lot of appointments. They both have tutorings. When I noticed that it was improving Kinsey, and it was helping her, that I was starting to be here just in a few short weeks. I made it that was my drive. So it didn't matter if I didn't have the money. It didn't matter if I didn't know how I was going to get from one place to another place, because I had my vehicle at the time voluntarily repossessed. It didn't matter. My goal was to make sure I was here because it was obvious that that's where I was needed. And both my girls now will tell you, they don't even want me to have a built-in office. They want my office at home because they know I'm here. They know whether they like it or not.
Right.
They like that schedule. They don't want to admit it, but they do like the schedule.
And it feels so good. I mean, for me, I started my business just when my oldest was born, and I just didn't want to be away from her all day, right? I didn't want that. And I wanted to be the person who took my kids to the appointments, and I wanted to be the person who, saw their first steps. And I just wanted, it's like no shame or shade towards anybody who chose a different route, but it was quite motivating for me. I couldn't imagine subbing out certain parts of my life, right? Like, I kind of joke about women who will say they don't mind if their husband goes to a strip club, and I'm like, well, I don't sub that out, right? Like, I outsource a lot of things, but not that, right? So the parenting thing, I wanted to be it, right? Like, I wanted to be their primary person. And it's funny, in my house, like, my husband's a public school teacher, and so, and I'll have always worked from home. And so I'll, never forget, like, my kids, when they started, like, spending the night with friends and stuff like that, they would, they would say, like, their dad goes to work in the summertime, or, like, totally shocked, like, your mom leaves to go to work, right? They'd never had seen anything different. So so I'm so proud of you for that, and it is one of the most motivating things. I feel like I might not have gotten where I am if it were more of a motivation for, like, a thing or stuff, or, what I'm saying? Like, I had to make it work because I had.
Yeah, it was a drive. There was basically two choices, because I'm the breadwinner, so it was, I make, to support my girls, there was two choices. I either go back to corporate, working the 60 hours a week, and not be readily available when they need me, and, like you're saying, keep subbing out and keep paying all the stuff, or make this work so that I'm here where they need me, and I can make sure they're getting the tools and the assistance and all of that they need. And that was the driving force. So once I put it that way, to me, it was like, okay, no plan B. I put that out of my mindset, because I didn't want that to be an option.
Yes, that's so good. I think that, that's one of the things I feel like every year I've gotten so much more clear on, is how important, like, what we focus on is, right? So, like, we hear all of the adages, right? Like, what you focus on expands, or, whatever. But the truth is, like, it really does.
It's
so
true,
funny.
though.
Yeah, it's like, we can't, if we're focusing here, we can't entertain all these other things that could happen or might happen. And, I wouldn't advise this. I certainly wouldn't give this as marital advice, but I remember being so worried and stressed in my business, right? Like, with the business money, particularly. And I didn't share it with Chris. And it wasn't because I thought he would be mad with me. I didn't think that, it wasn't for any of that. It was because I couldn't handle his stress and anxiety on top of my own, right? And it was a constant, like, almost like redirecting my thoughts towards where I'm going, what I want, and keeping the focus there. I think that takes a lot of mental muscle to do.
Yeah, I think it did too at first, because I'm going to be honest. My business at first grew really fast. in the first year, and then all of a sudden it plummeted because, of course, we don't normally make the right decisions within that first year. I'll be the first to say it. And at the end of the year, I was contemplating, okay, am I really cut out for this? I know it's my passion, but am I really cut out for this? And that's when I sat back and said, wait, what? Focus on, look at what messed up. And it was because I didn't have systems in place to look at the money and actually have a system in place to also grow the business. So if clients left, I wasn't all of a sudden, strapped. And so that's how I started putting those systems in place, and that's how I started building the team. But having that system in place is what helps me, I don't say monitor, but I keep a check on what's going on with my money. You know what I mean? Going on with the income, going on with my plans, what I want to do to grow the business. I mean, that's how, and it'll be 3 years later this month
Awesome.
that the business will be full time. And I'm still pinching myself for that. But in 3 years, I'm going to the next level. I'm fixing to start this membership, and I'm fixing to, we're looking at working on speaking, and those are things that never in my wildest dreams did I think would happen this quickly. And I
I've been
attest a lot of it to monitoring it.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with you and your hustle and what you've been able to do so quickly. I do have to interrupt because Alice, I should have talked to you about this before, Alice, but Lindsay Hack has joined the Facebook watching crew, and we don't talk to Lindsay Hack, and we definitely don't mention December in front of Lindsay Hack. Lindsay is her personal trainer. And I see what this woman does to Lisa on the daily.
On a daily?
Lisa Hack is not our friend, right?
No, yeah, Lindsay Hack. We have a nickname for her. She's called Dexter. But I pay her to be my Dexter. So in all honesty, she's paid to do that. So
I get it.
She's my personal trainer. I love her.
It doesn't
I love to
mean
hate her a lot.
It doesn't mean we should get super close to her, right? Like it's still an option. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to, I guess, go backwards. I'd love to go backwards and see if you can remember sort of a low point in your business and how that felt and like what your primary thought was back then. And then I'd like to kind of fast forward to the moment where you texted me and said, I hit 6 figures early. And I'd love to just I feel like sometimes our biggest wins are the emotional ones, right? Like what the money means, I guess, to us.
Yeah. The lowest point I think would be, two. One, I guess when I was, first starting a course and I was having to go and apply for assistance. I don't like asking for help. Lindsay can actually attest to that because it took me probably months to actually reach out to her. It's hard for me. I don't know why, but so going to someone to the assistance wherever and asking for assistance, it made me feel like a failure in some way. But then the business started growing, and then when some clients decided to leave because they were going to do it on their own now, which was great, but I wasn't expecting it. So all of a sudden that income was lost. I thought I was at the point where I was going to actually be able to walk away from the assistance, and all of a sudden it felt like I had plummeted. So it felt like I had failed again. And that feeling like you fail your kids, or feeling like that's the worst, to me, that's the worst feeling in the world. Other than the 6 figures, I will honestly say last Christmas was probably the biggest moment, because that was the first year in probably 4 or 5 years, including working with corporate, that I didn't have help from family or anyone else getting my girls Christmas presents. They had Christmas presents. They had 2 gifts from Santa Claus. They had under a tree, and I did it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the money. It was the fact that I was able to do something that for my girls, and I didn't have to stress over it or figure out, how to pay this off to do it.
It's
It was
huge.
that.
It's huge. And I tell you, it's like, I'm very grateful for my humble roots in starting in business, and I guess just in life in general, right? Like, because um, I've never resented paying my bills because I've been in a position where I really
And you
had to
can't.
stress about paying them, right? And
Hmm.
so I'm always like grateful when I pay my bills. And, when
Yes.
when I got to pay, Shelby's college tuition and just pay it in cash. And I was like, I just felt so good about that. It was such
Hmm.
a moment of, I'm so thankful that I'm able to do this. So tell me about, you were looking at your numbers, as is what you do, and you saw, like, you know what, I just broke six figures in September of the
Hmm.
year prior to when I planned on breaking six figures. So what was that moment like? Like, I got your text. I should have kept it. I could have read it. If
I think I actually have it somewhere. Um,
Tell me how
I
that
don't
went.
know. I was actually sitting next to one of my Patricia, because I was at her house because it was for the weekend, and I don't know. She was smiling because I was like from ear to ear because I was actually late looking at my numbers. So I normally look at them for, but I was late, and when I did it, I went. I actually said, "Holy shit!" And she was like, "What?" And I turned it and I said, "Ah," and she goes, "You did it." I was like, "Yeah." So like for 15 minutes, I just sat there, like, just, I don't know. I was grinning from ear to ear like a little kid. Um, it,
I
it
can
was,
I
it's amazing still.
do you can I read it to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I don't remember exactly what I said.
She said, "Hey, this is too good to put in Messenger. I had to text you. I was looking at my numbers last night and holy shit, I have officially passed 100K. With what I've been paid so far this month, it put me over. And with what I do coming up, this will put me to 130 to 140,000 for the year. I'm stoked, partially in disbelief. I'm so excited for all to come. Just had to share." So that was
Yeah.
obviously like a fist pump moment in the air for me as well, for you.
Oh, it
So,
was, yeah.
so excited about that. But I want to talk about, so that was your big turnaround. I want to talk about the big turnaround that your clients get by working with you.
Um, what I do and I guess it's twofold. And ooh, oh, my phone fell. Sorry. Um, it's twofold. The what One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping women entrepreneurs be able to stand on their own 2 feet, whether they need to or not, and be empowered by their money and not controlled, just because I've been there. Um, Personal or business, I know exactly what it's like. And so, working with me, the women entrepreneurs, they're able to, their big turnaround is all of a sudden they're able to know what's going on with their money and they're in control. And they're able to make sounder decisions. I mean, I've got one client who was able to open up her third location. I have another client who went from being afraid to look at her numbers to where she actually looks at them once a week. So it's that empowerment piece comes in, and when you have that empowerment, you don't look at money as a bad thing or a budget as a bad thing. You look at it as a good thing, kind of like, like you're saying, when you can pay your bills and then you have money to be able to invest into your business and you're able to see where the money's going, it's a huge empowerment. And it actually, a lot of people don't realize it, but it actually helps you grow your business. And I truly believe that's what's helped me get where I'm at. Yes, my team, but also the fact that I knew where the money was going because I was able to I actually allocate it and said, okay, this is, divided up and said, this is where I want it to go.
Yes. And I have personally experienced that where I was holding myself back because I knew I was making a lot of money. I got nervous about things like taxes, and you know what I'm saying, I didn't have a handle on it, and so I kind of like would sabotage a little bit. And so I can definitely see how that's important. What's the, for people who are watching now and and people watching the replay later, like, what's the first step for people? Like, what would you recommend if, they never see you again? What's one of the first or biggest things they can start doing to start to be empowered by their money? Like, what's a habit or task or
The
whatever?
one thing I tell everybody to do, whether they work with me or not, even when they have a call with me, everybody is told this because it's the first step. One, there's twofold. One, make sure you have a separate business account from your personal and there's no commingling. Second, go open up a separate savings account, call it tax savings. Don't wait to move money off the net, because once you wait to move it off the net, the money's gone because you've spent it. That's where we get in trouble. So I say depending on what you're making, if you're just starting out, start at least 10%. 10% off the top, move it, don't touch it, don't even look at it. It's called tax savings. So that way, at the end of the year, because you don't know when you first start out if you're going to make money or not, right?
Right.
So this way, you've got the money there. So if you do owe, you're not figuring out where in the world you're going to get it, because the IRS tax man, whatever you want to call him, he wants his money. And so doing that off the top, then you're not having to worry about, how much to move off the net and all of that. You don't have to wait until because the problem is with us as entrepreneurs, our money comes in some daily, some weekly, however, and if you're waiting until bills are paid and they're paid sporadically, then all of a sudden you don't have that amount of money that you need to move in the first place. So if you just move it off the top, then you don't have to worry about it.
All right. So this year, your first six-figure year in business. When did you join Women Who Wow?
Oh crap! When did I join Who Wow? July, I think. It wasn't long after Patricia did. So June or July, I think.
Okay, good. So tell me what you've done differently, like that you could share to help other people break six figures for the first time, or maybe for the next time, or what I'm saying? Like, tell me what you've done differently that you in your, whether it's your mindset or your marketing or your whatever you're doing differently, that you can say, you know what, I did this and you can do it too and get the result that you want.
Other than what I've been, my mindset. I mean, I think mindset is a big thing, regardless of whether it's money or business. But I'll be honest, I'm not a journaling person. I have a very hard time with it. But I actually have made it to where I do those entrepreneur espressos every morning, because no matter what kind of day I'm having, there's two things I do every morning. They're non-negotiables for me now. That's my training, my workout training with Lindsay. That's an at most non-negotiable, which she loves me saying that she's a non-negotiable. And then now the entrepreneur espresso. And so that's one of the first things I do is I look that up, whether it's journaling, and I mean, like, whether I write 2 sentences or sometimes I might write more. I basically just do that, and it just kind of helps me stay focused on what that goal is, because being a mom and entrepreneur and taxi cab and whatever else you want to call it's really easy, like you said, especially with me. I also have client work I do, so it's really easy to get busy and then not really get anything done. And I started doing those blocks like you were talking about, you know what I mean, like those 15-20 minute blocks. And I started doing that and the entrepreneurial expressos, and those actually, when I do them and I make sure I'm doing them, they actually help me focus to be able to get more stuff done in order to build my business.
Yeah, I think that's huge for women entrepreneurs in general, right? Because we can easily slip into getting busy maintaining our current level of business, right? Mm-hmm. And it's things expand to the time that you allow them. And so for me, when I did both of those things, when I started chunking like 15-20 minutes, we all have 15 or 20 minutes we can give something, right? Like whatever is getting left off. And so when I started scheduling in this stuff, not just to maintain, like doing client work, doing what I owe, like that kind of stuff, but to build, right? Like to get that media, to get in front of new audiences.
And that's the biggest thing, is I wasn't scheduling things to actually grow the business. And that was one of the first things you and I talked about. You're like, Lisa, you've got chunks of time to maintain. your business and to do your client work, but what are you doing to actually, chunks of time to actually focus to grow it?
Yeah.
And I wasn't. So
Yeah.
I just had to do that.
Yeah, most of us fall into that because it's easy to do that, and we're busy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like when you add on the mom stuff and the wife stuff and the fitness stuff and the bowling, and then the God knows, like just want to take a bath every once in a while, you know, and it's like, you know, it can quickly, feel like you're busy, busy, busy. And for me, I abhor busy, right? Like I never want to be
Yes,
busy.
yeah.
Yeah, so like that's like a key sign for me. Like I've got to do something else. But those chunking the time, any of you guys can do that watching. Like give it 20 minutes a day, right, to grow your business, not maintain it, not give a client what you owe them, but 20 minutes to grow your business. And I agree. Like Lindsay said, mindset is so key. And I love that you mentioned non-negotiables, Lisa, because, you know, one of the fastest ways that I have grown and up leveled my business, but not just my business, but, you know, everything, like, you know, my
That's my mindset.
closet, right? My body, like, you know, I started up leveling my non-negotiables. I started, you know, I was talking to one of my best friends from forever. And I said, you know, there was a time in both of our lives where the way our bodies are now would have been absolutely unacceptable, almost like not even a possibility to get here, right? And like, but we start to slip and we start to be tolerant of things that we really don't want. And so I encourage all of you guys watching to figure out what your non-negotiables are and then up them a little bit, because we always do what we consider non-negotiable, and those things always get done. I encourage you to have something in there for your mindset, something in there for marketing, like to take new ground in your business, something in there for your body and spirit, and something in there that you just love, right? Like have non-negotiables in each of those areas. So before we log off, Lisa, do you have any final words of advice to other women entrepreneurs?
If you have a passion, go for it. Don't let anybody, my biggest thing is don't let anybody tell you it can't happen, because I'm living proof it can.
Oh, yes.
That's that's my biggest thing is if you really truly have a passion, work at it and do the things you need to do and just make it happen.
I love that. I love that. And I'm big on that. If one can, anyone can, right? Like,
Exactly.
and
Yes. I mean, that's exactly.
and I say all the time, like, I am so average. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So I appreciate you. Where can they find you, Lisa?
You can find me on Facebook under the Sassy Southern Accountant, or you can find me at lisamarieaccounting.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much to Lisa and to those of you guys who are watching. I'm loving this new format of our Women Entrepreneur Success Show. So subscribe to our page at facebook.com/Women Who Wow. Comment below. Tell us about your business and the gains that you're making, and message me about joining Women Who Wow. You don't want to do business without us. So that you can reach your financial goals on your own terms. Lisa, this was so fun. I appreciate you so much for being here. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.